There are storms in nature, and then there are storms inside a man's mind. The ones outside can break trees and shake mountains, but the storms within? They can break a lifelong before anyone notices. For Daigo, the inner storm had been raging for years. From the outside, he looked ordinary, a man who showed up to work, answered politely, kept to himself, and carried his quiet life with the same routine every day. But inside him, something was cracking slowly. A pressure no one saw, a noise no one heard, a weight he never spoke about. Every night, when the world went quiet, Daigo's thoughts turned violent. Not the kind that threatened others, but the kind that tore himself apart. His mind replayed mistakes from years ago, conversations he wished he could redo, opportunities he let pass, people he lost, people he failed, futures he feared, timelines where he imagined everything going wrong, realities where he believed he was never enough. The noise didn't shout, it whispered, and somehow the whispers hurt more. Most nights Daigo lay awake staring at the ceiling, listening to that storm replaying inside his skull. He could hear his own heartbeat pounding against the silence. Sometimes he wondered if this was what drowning felt like, not water filling your lungs, but thoughts filling your mind until breathing became a chore. He tried everything modern life suggested: music, podcasts, motivational speeches, scrolling endlessly until his eyes stung, workouts he didn't enjoy, weekends that didn't rest him, food that didn't comfort him. Nothing worked. The storm remained. One morning, after another sleepless night, Daigo sat on the edge of his bed with his head in his hands. The sun hadn't even risen, yet he already felt exhausted, not physically, but spiritually, as if life was dragging him instead of him living it. Something inside him whispered a quiet, almost desperate thought. You can't keep living like this. Not as a dramatic cry, but as truth finally speaking. He stood up, grabbed the furs jacket he could find, and walked out of his apartment. No plan, no destination, just movement, the only thing he felt capable of doing. The city was dull and gray that early in the morning. Streetlights flickered over wet pavement. A few cars passed. People hurried with a kind of purpose that made Daigo feel even more disconnected. He kept walking, letting his feet choose a direction. And then something unexpected happened. A memory surfaced, one he hadn't thought of in years. It was his grandfather's voice, calm and deep. When the mind grows loud, climb where the world grows quiet. There's a path in the mountains, a path the monks call Kokoro no Maiki, the road back to your heart. Daigo stopped walking. He hadn't thought of his grandfather in a long time, and he definitely hadn't thought about that story. It sounded like something from another life, a simpler life, when he was still young enough to believe wisdom could grow from old stories. But now, that memory felt like a rope thrown to a drowning man. Without fully understanding why, Daigo checked the train schedule on his phone. There was a line heading toward the mountains, a small village near Trailhead, a place his grandfather mentioned once. He hesitated. Part of him felt foolish. Another part felt afraid. But the deepest part, the part that had carried the chaos for years, whispered, "Go." Daigo bought the ticket. It felt like the first real decision he'd made in months. The train arrived with a metallic screech. Daigo stepped inside, sat by a window, and watched the city drift away. Buildings turned into suburbs. Suburbs faded into fields. Fields dissolved into forests. The higher the train climbed, the more the world softened. For the first time in hours, Daigo breathed. Not a shallow breath, not a panic one, a real one, deep, steady, grounding. As the train curved around a mountain bend, Daigo saw it, a long trail weaving through dense cedar trees, disappearing into the clouds above. The mountain looked ancient, older than anything Daigo had ever seen, older than his problems, older than his pain. And for a moment, he felt small in a way that didn't hurt, small in a way that made his worries feel less permanent. When the train stopped, Daigo stepped out into cold mountain air. It bit at his skin, but he welcomed it. It felt like waking up. The village was small and quiet. Old wooden homes, stone lanterns, paths covered with fallen leaves. A world untouched by the rush of modern life. Daigo walked through the village until he reached a small shop. An old woman swept the front porch. She looked at him only once before saying, "You've come to climb." Daigo froze. "How did you know?" She pointed her broom at his chest. Men who carry noise in their hearts always look the same. "Heavy here." She tapped her sternum. "But empty here." She tapped her stomach. Daigo didn't know how to respond. She gestured toward a narrow path behind her shop. "Follow that road. It leads to the place you're searching for." "I don't even know what I'm searching for," Daigo admitted. The old woman smiled gently. "That is why you're here." And with those words echoing inside him, Daigo stepped onto the ancient path, the beginning of a journey he never planned to take, toward a master he had never met. The air grew colder as he walked. The forest grew thicker. The world grew quieter. And for the first time in his life, Daigo wondered, what if stillness isn't something you find, but something you uncover? He didn't know it yet, but this path, this silent, sacred mountain, would soon show him a truth he had never been taught. The mind does not become quiet by force. It becomes quiet by remembering what it truly is. The ancient mountain path wound deeper into the forest as Daigo climbed. The farther he walked, the more the world behind him faded. The noise of the city, the tightness in his chest, the heaviness that had followed him for years. It didn't disappear, but it felt distant, like a storm far away, visible but unable to touch him. The forest whispered softly as a wind brushed through towering cedar trees. Dry leaves scattered across the trail. Somewhere in the distance, a stream murmured over stones. The air carried the scent of moss and earth, cool, clean, untouched. Every few steps, Daigo could feel something shifting inside him. Not peace, not yet, but a small opening, a space he hadn't felt in years. After what felt like an hour, he reached a clearing, and there he saw him. An elderly man sat beside a small pond, his legs crossed, his back impossibly straight, his hands resting gently in his lap. He wore a simple robe, the color of gravel. His hair was tied back. His eyes were half closed, but he wasn't asleep. He wasn't lost in thought. He wasn't waiting. He was simply present, in a way Daigo had never seen another human being exist. Daigo froze. He didn't know if he should speak. He didn't know if he should bow. He didn't know if he should step forward or step back. He just stayed, unable to move. Without opening his eyes, the old man spoke. "You've walked far." Daigo's breath caught. "How did you?" "When the mind is loud," the master said, "the body walks heavily. The forest heard you long before you reached me." He opened his eyes fully. His gaze wasn't sharp or intimidating. It wasn't soft or comforting either. It was clear, so clear that Daigo felt the noise inside him stumble. "Sit," the master said. Daigo sat hesitantly on a flat rock across from him. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. The silence between them felt thick, not empty, but alive. The master pointed to the pond. "Look." Daigo leaned over the water. It was perfectly still, so still that it reflected the sky like polished glass. Daigo saw his own face looking back at him. The master reached down, picked up a small pebble, and dropped it into the pond. Ripples spread outward, distorting the reflection. Daigo's face stretched, twisted, blurred. "This is your mind," the master said. Daigo stared at the rippling water. "It feels like this all the time." "Yes," the master replied, "because you do not understand the nature of the mind. You believe the ripples are you." He let the ripples fade on their own. Slowly, the water stilled again. Clarity returned. "You see," the master continued, "the water always returns to stillness if you stop disturbing it." Daigo frowned. "But I'm not doing anything." "You are always doing something," the master said. "You react to every thought, every fear, every memory, every expectation. You chase them, argue with them, fight them, run from them." He tapped Daigo's temple lightly. "Your suffering begins the moment you forget that thoughts are only ripples." Daigo swallowed. He felt exposed, but he also felt relief, like someone finally understood the noise he had been carrying. "What should I do then?" he asked quietly. The master said nothing at first. He simply closed his eyes, inhaled slowly, exhaled gently, and resumed his meditative posture. Daigo waited. Minutes passed. The wind shifted. The pond grew still again. Finally, the master opened his eyes. "Tomorrow," he said, "you will return here. You will bring nothing with you except your breath." Daigo blinked. "My breath." "Yes," the master said. "Your breath is the rope that pulls you out of the storm, and it is a doorway into yourself." Daigo hesitated. "I don't know how to breathe properly," he admitted. The master's lips curved slightly, a hint of a smile. "No one does," he said. "They exhale their exhaustion. They inhale their panic. They breathe as if the world is chasing them." He raised a finger. "Tomorrow, you will breathe as if the world is not chasing you." Daigo felt something expand inside him, something like hope, small and unfamiliar, but real. He looked at the pond again. It was still, silent, clear. "Master," he said quietly, "why did my mind become so loud?" The master stood slowly. His movements were unhurried, graceful, as if time ran differently through him. "Your mind became loud," he said, "because you never learned how to let it speak without obeying it." He stepped back toward the trees. "You confuse your thoughts for truth. You confuse emotion for identity. You confuse noise for danger." Daigo lowered his head. It felt true, painfully true. "But here," the master said softly, "you will learn the way of quiet waters." Daigo felt his breath deepen on its own. "What is that way?" The master looked at him, eyes calm as a pond itself. "It is a path where the mind returns to its natural state," he said. "Where thoughts flow, but do not drown you. Where noise appears, but does not shake you. Where chaos rises." He pointed at Daigo's chest. "But stillness rises stronger." Daigo stared at him. His voice trembled. "Will I really find stillness here?" The master nodded once. "If you are willing to see what you have been avoiding, if you are willing to stop fighting your own mind, if you are willing to breathe for the first time in your life." He paused. "Then yes, you will." Daigo rose slowly. The forest felt different now, not quieter, but deeper. He bowed respectfully to the master. "Thank you." The master closed his eyes again. "Do not thank me," he said. "Thank the part of you that brought you here." Daigo turned back toward the trail. As he walked, the air around him felt lighter. The noise inside him felt softer. And each step felt like he was not just climbing a mountain. He was descending into himself. The path ahead was long, hard, uncertain. But for the first time in years, Daigo felt something real. A beginning, a chance, a quiet, fragile hope. That the chaos inside him could one day become still. The following morning, the air carried a colder bite as Daigo made his way back to the clearing. The forest was quiet, but not the hollow quiet of emptiness. It was a kind of silence that watched, listened, and waited. Dawn light filtered through the trees in soft gold ribbons, painting the ground with shifting patterns. Daigo felt nervous, not because he feared the master, not because he feared the mountain, but because he feared what he might discover within himself. Still, something drew him forward, the memory of the pond, the master's calm voice, and the subtle peace that had brushed against him at the end of yesterday. When Daigo reached the clearing, the master was already there. He sat in the same spot beside the pond, legs folded, posture straight, eyes closed. But this morning felt different. There was a stillness around the master that Daigo could feel from several meters away, like standing in front of an unmoving ocean. "Sit," the master said without opening his eyes. Daigo sat across from him. "Close your eyes." Daigo obeyed. "Now breathe," the master said, not with control, not with expectation. Simply breathe. Daigo inhaled. His breath was shaky, his chest tight, his shoulders tense. The master heard everything in that single breath. "You are breathing like a man expecting danger," he said. "Again." Daigo inhaled again, slower this time, his chest loosened by a small degree. "Feel your breath enter the body," the master continued. "Feel it move. Feel it leave." Daigo focused. At first, his mind screamed with noise, memories, worries, unfinished tasks, regrets, fears. Thoughts bounced around like trapped birds inside his skull. He felt his jaw clench involuntarily. The master's voice came softly. "Do not fight the noise. Let it arrive. Daigo hesitated. Let it arrive, the master repeated. But do not follow it. So Daigo let the thoughts come. All the things he had avoided for years. The faces of people he disappointed. Moments he wished he could erase. Things he said wrong. Things he didn't say. The version of himself he secretly hated. They appeared one by one. Daigo felt a familiar tightness in his chest rise, panic trying to form. But the master spoke again. Thoughts are only messengers. They are not masters. Daigo breathed, and for the first time in a long time, he didn't try to run from the thoughts. He didn't try to suppress them. He didn't try to drown them out with force. He simply let them pass. Seconds stretched into minutes. The storm inside him didn't disappear, but it no longer felt like a storm. More like weather. Clouds crossing a sky. Good, the master said quietly. Now, inhale slowly. Daigo breathed in. This time, it felt deeper. Hold. Daigo held his breath gently. Exhale softly. Daigo released the air, long and slow, like a river descending from a mountain. Again, the master said. They repeated this for several cycles. With each breath, something inside Daigo softened. The shoulders, the jaw, the stomach. It didn't feel magical. It didn't feel spiritual. It felt human, as if his body had been waiting years for him to breathe this way. After several minutes, the master asked, "What do you feel?" Daigo searched his body. "Space," he whispered, and "Quiet," he said. The master nodded, eyes still closed. "You are touching the edge of Seijaku in a stillness." Daigo swallowed. "Is this what monks feel?" he asked. "No," the master answered simply. "This is what humans feel when they stop trying to escape themselves." Daigo opened his eyes slowly. The pond before him was perfectly still, a mirror reflecting the sky. The master finally opened his eyes. "Chaos is not the enemy," he said. "Your fear of chaos is." Daigo listened, heart steady. "You believe the mind must be controlled," the master continued. "But the mind is like water. The more you grab at it, the more it slips through your fingers. Stillness is not something you force. It is something you remember." The master leaned slightly forward. "Your natural state is calm. You forgot that." Daigo felt the truth hit him like a soft blow, not painful, but awakening. His entire life he had believed something was wrong with him. His mind, his thoughts, his nature. But what if the noise wasn't a flaw, but a misdirected attention? The master stood and gestured for Daigo to follow. They walked to the far side of the clearing where a fallen tree lay across the ground. "Place your hand on the trunk," the master instructed. Daigo did. "What do you feel?" "The wood is rough, old, cold," Daigo said. The master nodded. "This tree lived through storms that would terrify you, winds that could tear apart houses, rains that would flood your town. Yet look at it." Daigo looked. The tree was scarred, yes, but not broken. It did not resist the storm, the master said. It swayed with it. When you learn to sway with your thoughts instead of fighting them, the mind no longer shatters. They walked back to the pond. "Now sit," the master said. Daigo Saturday. "Close your eyes one last time." Daigo obeyed. Let the breath enter, travel, and leave. He breathed. Let thoughts appear, change shape, and drift away. He let them. Let the chaos arrive, and let it leave. And as Daigo breathed, he felt it, not sudden, not dramatic, but a gentle opening inside him, a widening, a quietening, a settling. The noise didn't vanish. It didn't surrender. It simply lost its power to move him. His breath deepened. His chest softened. His mind rested. The master spoke softly. "You have awakened stillness, not because the world is quiet, but because you are learning how to be." Daigo opened his eyes. The forest looked the same, but he did not. The world felt less threatening. The noise felt less personal. The thoughts felt less powerful. For the first time in years, Daigo felt present, not lost in the past, not terrified of the future. Just, here. The master placed a hand on his shoulder. "Leave this mountain," he said. Take this stillness back into your life. The world will test you, but now you know the truth. Daigo inhaled. What truth? The master smiled faintly, that the chaos in your mind is temporary, but the stillness inside you is eternal. Daigo closed his eyes, letting those words settle in the quiet space within him. And in that moment, he didn't feel broken. He didn't feel overwhelmed. He didn't feel lost. He felt whole. He felt human. He felt still.